Hey there. It is 5:21 and it is week 5. There are a lot of little things, so let's hop right in, shall we? All right, we're looking at the SAMR model, also looking at Bloom's digital taxonomy. As we look at the week 5 page in Blackboard, we always start with our Christian message. There's this video. You're continuing with some readings. You have Kathy Schrock's guide about Bloom's digital taxonomy. If you have not met Kathy Schrock and you're at an EdTech conference, she's usually at ISTE. If you've not been to an ISTE conference at some point when they're back in person, she's an awesome person. So yeah, she continues to make really cool stuff. If you've been teaching for a while, Kathy Schrock had one of the first websites out there. So she was a go-to for lessons for elementary school teachers for a long time and resources, and continues to learn, continues to evolve. Super generous human, from all that I know about her. So she's nice and awesome and helpful and generous. You also have some links to some SAMR. If you just look up in general, I've never had an issue just opening a new tab and typing in a Google query. So strange. It is really, really slow. I wonder what's happening with my internets. Fortunately, I have all my tabs pulled up. Anyway, I really like the analogy of looking at different ways to interact with the ocean or be along the coastline, because it's not that the R redefinition of SAMR is the best. It's just that it's different, that it's like a complex redesign of an original lesson plan. So the one that has always made the most sense to me is like write a paragraph, write 2, 3, 5 paragraphs, whatever. What would that look like using SAMR? So the note tech would just be pencil and paper. Substitution might be like Microsoft Word, where it's like, well, I'm typing it, but it's like not much different, right? Like it moves from like pen and paper to like typing. That would be substitution. Sorry, I just bumped my laptop. And in Sylvia's analogy in her infographic, it's like someone on a boat, right, with a paddle. Way different than being on the shore. Often I just want to be on the shore, right? So substitution is not better, just it's different, right? Augmentation would be like, cool, let's use Google Docs. Then I can edit it on a school laptop, on a home laptop, on my phone. Pretty cool, right? Like that's pretty different than just a piece of paper. Augmentation in Sylvia's infographic is snorkeling, right? Like way different than being in a boat, significantly different than being on shore. And again, when I'm at the beach, I actually just want to be on the shore. But if I go snorkeling, like, dude, like that is memorable for me. Modification in the writing would be like collaborating, right? So maybe you write and then share it with a classmate and they give you some feedback, or you're like, if you're using Google Classroom, you can submit it. Your teacher can leave like comments. Maybe you're adding like some images, things that are pretty different than you could do with just pencil and paper, right? Again, in Sylvia's infographic, modification is like scuba diving, right? Like a way different experience than snorkeling or canoeing or being on the shore. And again, you don't always want to go scuba diving when you're at the beach. You probably have not been scuba diving the last time you were at the beach. When you do it, though, woof, like you're really starting to transform what's possible with the project. And then the R of SAMR is redesign. And so one of my favorite projects, I think this was like 2014, that I presented with Scott Bedley and Sean Zebarth, both amazing educators, both on the Twitters and Instagram, worth following, as well as Sylvia Duckworth, who I've mentioned a number of times. And I was teaching 2nd grade at the time. Scott was 5th grade. Sean was 11th grade. And so my 2nd graders wrote their paragraph in Google Docs, shared it with a 5th grader that we paired, and the 5th graders gave feedback. Because when I was talking with Scott, it was like, my 5th graders don't need to write more, they need to edit more, right? Like I need to edit. And I was just like, oh my gosh, there's one of me and 25 of them. I need edit. Come on, like help me edit. So we could share. And with students that were about 60 miles away, I mean, it could have been 20,000 miles away, although that's a bit far. 2,000 miles away, it doesn't matter. But being able for my second graders to share with fifth graders and get real-time feedback as they're writing, oh my gosh, that really redefines what's possible for a second grader as they're writing, to get one-on-one tutoring in a way where there's a teacher who was willing to be on the tech. And at that time, Google Docs wasn't new, but it's still like a pretty forward-thinking like project, and it's just writing, right? It's just Google Docs. Odds are you have a Google Doc open at some point right now as you're watching this. And then Sean did the same thing as a high school English teacher with Scott's fifth graders. So at some point later, and they did this one asynchronously, he had like 35, 38 students. His fifth graders would write, share with an 11th grader, and they would give some pretty critical feedback in a way that as a fifth grade teacher, you're just not going to like really give detailed feedback to like 38 papers if it's a first draft, right? Or if you do it's a lot. So, hi, I'm recording. That's okay. I'm going to keep talking. So the redefinition then of the SAMR model would be scuba diving. No, not scuba diving. Bye. Sorry, my wife just popped in. It's bedtime for our kids. But I'm going to keep going. If you're still making videos for your students, like someone pops in, just keep going. It's fine. It's fine, right? I'm not going to jump back 10 minutes and redo this for you. Sylvia's redefinition is called a submarine. That's what it is. Just way like a whole different world than looking from the beach and going, oh, that's a beautiful beach. I've never been in a submarine unless you count Disneyland. Does that technically count? Be curious. I think it does not count as a legit submarine. But that, being like looking at the Titanic, like a mile down, way different. And most of the time when you're at the beach, you're like, you know what I should do? I should really be in a submarine today. No, just you're going to have, like, in this analogy, no tech. You're going to just be like, that's a beautiful beach. Most of the time when I'm working with students, we're not going to find in their class, 60 miles away, that's going to edit in real time on Google Docs. But if we want to, right, like, it's pretty memorable. It's pretty transformative. It's not that complicated, but it really changes what's possible with students and with writing, right? So anyway, if you don't know Sylvia Duckworth, she's prolific these days on Instagram. I was just messaging with her on Instagram. This is me messaging. She and I were both in the Google Teacher Academy 2012 in Mountain View. So I've known her, my goodness, for 9 years now, way before she even knew about sketchnoting. So it's been really fun to watch her progress and model that learning. Anyway, she is recently retired, which, I don't know, she must have retired really young. But she's with her husband. They decided just to like rent a place up in San Francisco for like a month or two. So anyway, she's like an hour and a half north of me. I wish we could hang out, but we're not. Anyway, not the point. You have 2 discussion boards this week. For those, make sure you post once to each. Make sure you reply twice to each. So many times, if you're still with me, and I hope you are, I'll wrap this up. So many times when we have double discussion boards, I see students just post the 2 replies, and you're just missing out on 4 points. You write it 6 points for the initial, and then 4 for the 2 replies. So you're going to do a total of 2 initial posts and 4 total replies because there's 2 discussion boards. The first one you're going to be sharing, it actually tees you up for what your assignment is, what the idea of your lesson plan is going to be, and how you might shift it using SAMR or Bloom's digital taxonomy. So do that and then work on your assignment. Your assignment is to grab a current lesson plan, and then you're going to kind of infuse where Bloom's digital taxonomy is present and where you could incorporate the SAMR model, or how you might like tweak it a little bit to have it more digital taxonomied. I don't know. Whatever that, you know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, that is your assignment for that. It's you're revising a lesson plan, and the first discussion board is going to look at what that is. Discussion board number 2 is direct discussion and conversation around your readings. So looking at a facilitator of learning as opposed to a guardian of knowledge. You may have heard a version of that like sage on the stage or guide on the side. So what is kind of looking at that, what does that mean? How do you facilitate learning versus how do you stand in front of a class and lecture at them? The irony is not lost on me that that's what I'm doing here. But anyway, looking at that and then looking at assistive technology, looking at AT tools and how you can use those to facilitate learning. So those are your 2 discussion board posts. You have your self-paced e-lesson. Okay, please continue on your e-portfolio. This is not the week to slack on that, so make sure you're keeping up with that. That's important. And then next week, you have your assistive tools in-service presentation. Strongly recommend you at least look at what that's going to be, start thinking through what that would be. So that is it for week 5. If you have been spring breaking, then welcome back. You've been in this, we've been doing week 4 for the last week. So depending on where your spring break's lined up, hopefully you're ramping back up. Hopefully you're able to stay safe as much as possible. And as you're recording videos for your students, if you get interrupted because you're working at home, that's okay. It's really okay. Don't re-record stuff. It's almost like I staged it. I was afraid my kindergartner snuck in because this is past his bedtime and being like, I need something. It's like, you don't need a something. You need nothing. You need to go to sleep. That's what you need. So anyway, I was about to do a little bit of that while we're doing the video together. And it being my wife grabbing something for him, I'm sure. But anyway, don't re-record. Just go with it. Unless it's going to be something that's going to be on television, it's fine. It's really fine. It will save you a lot of time if you're already at the point of redoing videos. So just, yeah. All right. With that, happy week 5, and